Lee and Sunny, girls, I miss you the most. That's why it's harder for me to make a video for you all, but they're always pertinent to you all because I do want to make amends with your mom because she was a great person and I'd like to see her, I know I will see her recapture herself and become what you guys have probably never imagined she could be, and she has been. People become wounded versions of themselves when they've gone through a lot, and you guys have gone through a lot too, and don't think that you won't end up badly. It's best if you get a hold of it now, and you don't have to forgive me or your mom or anything, but you will see that I didn't want to be away from you one day. This can be proven. If your mom will come to the table and admit this, I'm sure it will say a lot to you girls. It will also say a lot when I can prove that I was hounded and I couldn't ever come in from the ring. I thought I had warrants. The last time I was free, I thought I was quickly charged with another felony because it's been one after another, and it's been a draconian, unfair persecution. It was. And I'm hoping you girls will come to the table because I'm really considering snapping. I am. I've done a lot of good things. I've changed. And it's not done any good. And just because I've changed doesn't mean I can't flip back and get some people who totally deserve it. Not you girls and not your mom and not anyone in our circles or family. No, none of you ever deserved it. Your mom didn't. Her mom and her aunt didn't deserve the differences I have with them either. They didn't. I wish I could bring that family together. I've tried, but I don't know. I've tried to offer Eileen a free house that she could get, literally. I know about 3 people who, if she wanted a house, she could just be caretaker and tell them, no, you can't bring in foolish people. I know people who get checks, and that's all they need is somebody say, no, here's where your bills go. She didn't even have to handle their money if she doesn't want to deal with that, accusations and hints and all that. Although, as long as somebody was a caretaker of someone's money that was disabled and receiving a check, they would never be in trouble as long as they weren't stealing the money and it was all transparent. They also, one person I know would be able to pay toward a severance fund. Maybe 2 of them would actually. And they would have, at one time they would have had $15,000 to pay down. Well, not to pay fully down, but they would have had $15,000 and paying about $7,500 to $12,500. And I know another person who could have, they could have $20,000 in 2 years. And Jerry had $15,000, but he would have had more if we would have saved up. Well, I figured since what she did was help people who weren't well, who were aging, she could possibly do this with Jerry because I was helping him get set up for a house. I didn't want to be the payee. I didn't want to deal with, just deal with it. And I was really upset with him for abandoning his girlfriend, Bridget, for this predator, this financial predator. And I have evidence of his, I should try to get that from Yandex. And I have pictures, bruises, his testimony, where I recorded him one day, and I turned it into a place that was in charge of investigating elder abuse, and they went there and asked him right in front of the person, which is his predator, and he came and told me he wished they wouldn't have. He's a ball of bullshit, and I just can't. He's easy to take, he's easy to deal with. He's very timid. It makes me sick to see somebody that doesn't have any goddamn backbone, and he lets this woman dominate him, and She ain't even his old lady or nothing. It's just twisted shit, man. His girlfriend, Bridget, who put up with a lot of shit from him, including listening to the neighbor kids call her nigger for a year. Well, he abandoned her and lets this Coco dominate his situation. And, you know, I just was tired of dealing with him. He was my ex-roomie. I begged him to come stay with me for 2 years. But I figured if Eileen wanted a good thing, or anybody, they could take over the house and be the boss. They could even pick out what house is going to be bought. He could go into a contract for something like a $40,000 to $60,000 home, which would be worth about, I don't know, 30 to 50% more than what you pay. So some of the houses are worth 90 grand at 60 grand. So let's say he got a 60 grand house. If he down paid 7,500 to 10,000 on it, which he could get really good options on the payback. You know, you have some payments you don't have to pay back. There are grants because of certain conditions and certain things. He's got $1,600 a month mental illness, SSI, because he has mental illness, and he gets a check for SSI. He has been to DOC. He's had one arrest in his life for shooting a guy. It was crazy. He brings the guy home from the bar. He doesn't even drink, and he's been out on this adventure after his parents died. He had $150,000 saved up from working and not paying bills and living with him. And he's very responsible, by the way, very ethical. You know, you'd be surprised to hear that he's been locked up. But when you get to know him, you know the situation. And when you get to know about Coco, the predator, Calandra Benson, you'll know further. And when he got toward the end of his money, this event happened, and she looked at it like a chance to get what property he had and all left remaining, and he let that happen while he was in jail. So she testified against him and contributed, although he did shoot a guy and didn't back up, and there was evidence the guy had come at him in the kitchen with a knife, which he was a dumbass for being a dumbass the way he was anyway in many instances. But he can't have a weapon now. And, you know, I was just seeing if she wanted a house, because at any time the contract would be, you know, Jerry's not going to have a house and a place to get ill and grow old and die. And that's going to happen in an escalated fashion for him, just like it did his parents. He's going to be, you know, ill soon. She's not going to be expected to do anything physical labor, none of that. No wiping his ass or none of that, ever. You know, if that's needed, he goes in, he gets that somewhere else. That's never her job, and it never can be, and that's the understanding. And the thing is this would help Jerry have at least, you know, 3 or 4 years, maybe 6 years at home, instead of being institutionalized in a hospital, which is going to be just like prison. Now, he spent 11 actual years of his time or something like that in prison, in jail, for shooting that guy. And actually, he could maybe have gotten something like, you know, I don't know, but maybe at the worst, he would have gotten maybe a 20 to 10. But, you know, and got some of it dropped. He probably would have gotten, I don't know. To tell you the truth, if all things were considered and they knew that he was mentally ill, then he was undiagnosed until he went to Logansport or whatever. But if they knew, and knowing what I know and being honest about it, he is sickening when he makes me think of how sickening it is that he stays gullible and seeks out people who use him and avoids people who are good to him. But I honestly feel that he would have deserved like a 15 to 7.5 or something. You know, all things considered, he's never committed another crime. He's a straight lacer, really is. He even fired a warning shot at the guy. He was outside and he ran out to the truck, and the guy even came out there, and he thought the guy was coming after him. The guy had a knife in the house because the guy started doing freaky, weird shit and telling Jerry to cut him and shit. And I believe Jerry on this, but Jerry's just stupid, and he's just overwhelmed by that cocoa. Well, I know a couple other people who are possibles, but Jerry gets a good amount each month, and I was going to handle getting rid of Coco with the evidence against her abusing him. And, you know, when that line is dug in, then Jerry wouldn't be bringing people over. He wouldn't be asking for, you know, he'd have to ask if anybody was allowed to come in, even though he's paying for the house, because he wouldn't otherwise have it if someone responsible weren't spending their time, and they would probably be able to get 25 to 35 hours per week paid for at a rate of maybe $15 to $20 or so per hour for home health care, and not hospice, but just taking over stuff like household duties. You could count off shopping at least twice a week for him, and other duties, and he gets at least $1,600 or more, and he would usually make maybe $800 to $1,200 on a side job. And even without the side job, he would put $150 a month toward a severance pay, which would build, and whoever, Eileen or whoever, wanted to take this up would have that, would be able to take that and leave, no questions asked, you know, or they may ask, I would ask questions, but, you know, say what happened, but, you know, it would be somebody's prerogative to do it. And then there would be a certain amount contributed toward the housing payment, which would be, well, mandatory minimum might be $600 to $800, which he could pay, which would knock it off faster and bring down the rates and the payments. So if he had 15 grand and spent half on the down payment, that would leave $7,500 remaining. So that would be at least 12, somewhere around 10 or 12 months of payments. And also he would try to build that back up by paying not only $600 or $800 of the check toward the housing payment, but then pay some toward a severance fund, which could also double as emergency payments fund. But at a certain amount, a person's, if Eileen or somebody is going to take over, their severance pay would be theirs if they ever left. So if he ever was to use that money for a rental payment, it would be for repaid. But he would have to repay it to her or whoever, because they would be the ones actually paying out the severance pay. And, you know, there's a lot of different aspects to it, but that's what I was trying to get across to Eileen or your mom. And, you know, you girls, I have some email addresses I made a while back for 2 for each of you, and they were different. I should have made them similar, but Sonny's was SONNIALCOX and SONNIALCOX2, the numeral 2, Sonny A.L. Cox and Sonny A.L. Cox 2, numeral 2, and LEIRON RDH Cox, COX, and LEIRDHLAVATY, COX, Lee RD Lavity Cox at gmail.com. All these are gmail.com, by the way. And Lee RDH Cox, LEIRDHCOX, and LEIRDHLAVATYCOX at gmail.com. And your mom's would be LEIFHLAVATYCOX. And the second will be identical except an extra F. That'd be LEIFFHLAVATYCOX at gmail.com. And your girls would be, the password would be, it would be capital LEI SONNI 1978 or 1972. I can't remember. I don't think there's an exclamation point after the password, but there could be. The password could be LEI SONNI 1978 or 1972, and the password could be exclamation point or a guess mark, question mark at the end. Same for your mom's. Hers is her birth year, but your password could be my birth year. Plus, there's new ones. There's your mom's is XT2205 phone mail at gmail.com. That's for the Moto phone. I'm probably going to send her, although it might not be good enough. I might regret that. I might wish I'd, kept selling and then buy you guys. I've got you guys each a couple of phones and a couple of data plans. Plus, if you get low income or no income, we can get you. SafeLink Wireless gives the best free lifeline plan. I'll cover that later in another video.